This is Bobby Blaze, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
Welcome to the control room here at WrestlingEpicenter.com, where I rise before the sun does, apparently. I'm looking out the window now. It's still dark out. Wanted to get online early, put out together the YouTube video for our Bobby Blaze interview, and it is available, and obviously it is if you're watching it. So hopefully everybody's going to enjoy the interview. Partially why I wanted to do the intro unshaven at this time of the morning is just to let you know that there's a little bit of like interference on the recording in about 25 minutes that is intermittent. You can still very much hear what he says, but just want to let you know we're aware of it. You don't have to tell us. Don't comment about it. We understand, but there's nothing we can do about it. It sounds like cell phone interference, but I wasn't even on a cell phone, so I don't know what happened there, but it's nothing to worry about. You can still hear what he's saying very clearly, just a couple little echoes and strange pops that appear. So, speaking of pops, I wanted to just go over the fact that we do discuss the WWE Network right after this interview. So if you want to stay tuned and listen to Patrick and I talk about wrestling and reciting the Lord's Prayer as Yogi Bear, do so. Stay tuned. We are definitely the most random of all wrestling audio podcasts. I like to call it radio shows, but apparently now they're called podcasts. I want to also encourage people to check out our back catalog of interviews, which you can find at WrestlingEpicenter.com or at InteractiveWrestlingRadio.com. Both sites have the catalog. In fact, the Wrestling Epicenter site forwards you to the Interactive Wrestling Radio site. Like us on Facebook. Go to Facebook.com/Wrestling Epicenter. Click that like button. Share it with your friends. We've been doing this 12 years now, and I'm not stopping anytime soon. Again, thank you to Bobby Blaze for joining us. Check out his book, Pin Me, Pay Me, one of the more funny and insightful books on professional wrestling. True wrestling fans are going to really enjoy it. And you can also pick up a DVD on his career called The Best of the Blaze. And you can go to his Facebook page, which you can find through our Facebook page. Go to WrestlingEpicenter.com or Facebook.com/Wrestling Epicenter, and you'll see a link to his Facebook page on our timeline. Sorry for the voice. Just got over another cold, and I got another one coming in. So hope everybody enjoys. Sound a little bit like Charlie Sheen post-meltdown, which is fine. I'm winning. And hope everybody enjoys the show. And stay tuned afterwards for the post-show as well as the incredible interview. Thanks again for listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Interactive Wrestling.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with us right now is a former Smoky Mountain and WCW superstar who has a brand new book out and DVD called Pin Me, Pay Me. It is the one and only Bobby Blaze Smedley. Bobby, are you with us?
Yes, I'm right here. Thank you very much for that kind introduction.
You're very welcome, man. It's great to have you on the show. I got to be honest with you. I've been kind of looking forward to this one for a while now. I had heard the Stro mentioning you here and there. I follow the Stro Facebook, and he mentions you quite a bit in passing. So I finally got the gumption up and said, well, I see he's got a book out. Now might be the opportunity to get him on the show. So I'm glad to have you.
Well, you've got good timing. Yeah, the Stro's one of my old-time friends, old-time rivalries that I've had with him through the years. He and I traveled many roads together, but I was in Smoky Mountain when he first started there, and he's just a real good guy, first-class act, and a tremendous performer. And, so I appreciate you mentioning his name because he's one of the good guys in the business. And we've traveled so many times together, I'll tell you that. We've had a lot of good times on the road.
All right. And the book is out now. It's called Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel. Excellent book. I've had an opportunity to read a good portion of it, and I really like what you've done with the book. I guess my first question will be, what encouraged you to decide to sit down and put pen to paper and make this book a reality?
Well, I had several goals in my life. One, obviously, was to be a professional wrestler when I grew up, and I fully don't know if I've ever grown up yet or not, but I've tried to. And then one of them was finish college, and I did that. And the other one was to write a book one day. And so what provoked this book, though, was just the years on the road, realizing that I had made a living from professional wrestling, something that I had dreamed of doing since I was 15. And I mentioned that in the book. I made up my mind early. That's what I wanted to do. But I found out that people wanted to hear my stories. I'd be somewhere and they'd say, "Hey, Bobby, did you wrestle so-and-so?" Or, "Bobby, do you know so-and-so?" Or, "Hey, I saw you on TV." And I'd end up telling a story or two, and I realized people really wanted to hear some of the things I had to say. So about 5 years ago, I just sat down and I just kind of kept notes. I wrote notes on notepads, pen to paper, like you said. I put some on my computer. I talked into my phone, and I finally just tried to put it together in a cohesive way to make a nice book that if you and I were riding down the street to a show, or we've at a sports bar watching a wrestling event or a sporting event, that you could look over and say, "Hey, Bobby, what about this?" And so I did it in the first person, which is me, and just telling you a story about my life and about traveling. So really, it was what the fans wanted. I've been getting really rave reviews on Amazon. I had 2 more 5-star reviews today, and I appreciate those reviews from the fans. That's what got me to do it, though. People, I felt like, hey, I've got a story to tell, and I wanted to write a book. And what better to write about than something I know a little bit about, and that's professional wrestling.
Well, absolutely. And like you said, you've been up and down the roads with some of the largest companies, some of the most storied companies, unfortunately, largely all defunct, but companies throughout the years. And those things are the things that I want to talk about. I mean, we go through phases on this show of having people on from various territories. Last month I kind of went a little crazy with the GWF stuff, which was out of Dallas, the old world-class arena. And then this one, I'm going to probably start going into a little bit of Smoky Mountain, because I'm going through a little Smoky Mountain nostalgia. And I guess my first question about individuals would be about Jim Cornette. Now, Jim Cornette actually wrote the foreword for your book, for those who don't know that. And what is your relationship with Jim Cornette, and how is he influential in having you come into Smoky Mountain?
Well, first of all, Jim Cornette, I think it's a first-class act. I think he's probably got one that I'm not just saying this, but I mentioned the book, not just because he wrote the foreword to the book, not just because I worked for the man for 3 years and alongside with him. I think he's got one of the greatest minds in professional wrestling. Our relationship, I was in Florida. I was wrestling for Florida, championship wrestling out of Florida, and I ran into Tommy Rogers, and he said, "Hey, Cornette's starting a territory up in your home area." And so I got a hold of Cornette on the telephone. And from that initial phone call, it actually took 9 months for me to get hired with him. What happened was he wasn't full-time. He said, "Bobby, I'm fully aware of who you are. I'm not up and running full-time. I'll keep in touch with you." So in the meantime, I had been working up, and I left Florida to go to territory for the old Grand Prix up in Canada. And while I was home in between tours, Cornette and Smoky Mountain was about an hour from my home. I went up and visited with Cornette and turned in all my stuff personally with him. And he said, "Hey, I'm still not full-time, but I got you on the back burner." And, Jim and I just had a lot of respect for each other early on, both of us being the marks that we are for the wrestling business.
That helps.
He was a fan from an early age. I was a fan from an early age. Of course, I grew up watching a lot of Memphis tapes. When I say tapes, watching the Memphis program each week. So I'd seen some of the stuff he'd done, plus through all the NWA stuff he had done. And basically, to wrap up that story, what happened was Jim called me one time. I had been on a tour in Australia. I came home, and Cornette calls and says, "Hey, Bobby, you want to try out?" And I said, "Yeah, it's not like I haven't been trying to get one, Jim." And so he had a spot. Robert Gibson got hurt at one of the shows. He brought me in to do a loop with him for about a week. And I worked each night with Dr. Tom Prichard. And who better to open a show up with than starting with Smoky Mountain than with Tom Prichard,
Absolutely.
with Cornette being his manager. So after about the third night there, Mark Curtis comes to me and says, Bobby, you know, what's your finish? And I said, well, putting Tom over, isn't it? And he said, no, we brought someone in for you to work with. You know, we want you to do something, you know. And so I went over, and from there, no, it wasn't Candido yet. It was another guy. And from there, they said, hey, we like you. And as soon as the spot opens up, we're moving you in here. What do you think? And I said, I'm ready to come on board. And so, anyway, Cornette and I had a very mutual respect for each other. He started inviting me to the production meetings, you know, writing TV, watching what goes on behind the scenes during the TV tapings. And after about probably 3 months of being there, he says to me, he was in Knoxville City Coliseum, and I won't forget it. He says, hey, I've got this young guy from up east I'd like to do a program with. You ever heard of Chris Candido? Well, I heard of the name, and through a mutual friend. I didn't know Chris at the time, and he said, hey, he's a young up-and-comer. I think you guys work well together. How about doing a program with him? And I said, hey, Jim, I'm here to work, man. You guys have been nothing but good to me since I've been here, whatever you want to do. And that's kind of where it took off with Candido from there. And once Chris came in, he was actually working out in the USWA. He came over one Sunday afternoon, and just to check the show out, he walked up to me, introduced himself, said, I hear that you're the man I'm going to be working with. And I said, well, I hear you're the man I'm going to be working with, so nice to meet you, and we'll do some business together. Right. And, you know, from there, you know, really, and the Cornette and I, we spoke just the other day. We stay in touch here and there. You know, he's got a really good book out, the Rags book about the Memphis memorabilia type stuff, and so I'm getting that copy, and he's got a copy of my book, and for him to write a foreword of my book was such an honor too. You know, I think it just says there's a mutual admiration and respect there between each of us, obviously through professional wrestling, you know. Again, he's got a great mind. I respect him as a person, as a wrestling manager, a wrestling personality, but also he was always good to me. To say we didn't have heat at separate times, which I'm saving that for the next book. We had heat a couple of times on little things. I never really said no, and there are some things that I said yes to that he and I, we had to sit down and discuss, but mostly it was very, very professional. And like I said, he was very, very good to me the entire time I was in Smoky Mountain. He was instrumental in getting my first big break here in the U.S. because prior to coming to Smoky Mountain, I had already been to Canada on 2 different tours for Grand Prix. I had been to Australia. I had been over in South Africa. I had been wrestling a lot down in Florida on the independents down there. But once I come to the Smoky Mountain, that's when I really kind of broke out in the U.S. So I owe a lot of that to Cornette. And also with that, I owe a lot to Bobby Fulton. Bobby Fulton helped with Cornette. They were best of friends at one time. He helped early on with Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And, again, it goes back to Tommy Rogers had come up and done some tapings with them. And Bobby put me on a couple of shows, and he went back and told Jimmy, hey, look at this Bobby Blaze kid. You know, I think you'll like him. And so I was working Ohio and West Virginia and Pennsylvania on some shows with Bobby Fulton. And then I was working in the South, you know, Kentucky, Tennessee, the Carolinas, and Virginia and a little bit of Southern West Virginia for Cornette. So I had a lot of work going on between the two of them, you know. But basically, after I worked with Bobby for a couple of shows, and then Cornette gave him that tryout, man, it was just Blaze setting the world on fire at that point, man.
There you go, yeah. Actually, the radio station we used to be on when I was on the radio about 5 years ago, gosh, I said 5 years ago. It's about 8 years ago. Feels like 5.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, time does fly. I was just thinking what year are we in, and I thought, oh, my God, we're in 14. It was called The Blaze, and I interviewed Jim Cornette, and off air, he's like, you name your station is The Blaze? And I said, yeah. He's like Bobby. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So
yeah,
he threw that out there. Yeah, he's a very good guy, and obviously he does think a lot of you. Got to ask you a little bit about your time in Smoky a little bit later, but another place that you worked, and I mentioned it in the intro to the interview, was World Championship Wrestling, and you were there for really quite a while. I guess my question for you is, what was your secret to your longevity there? And I'll get into some more questions on you know, your spot in the company, but what was the secret to lasting there for so long? Because there were so many guys that just came in and went, and you were kind of there for quite some time.
Well, if outside of two conceded, one was being able to work. No, two was probably the more important than being able to work, because they had some guys that they really, they had top guys that could work. Obviously, it had some guys, the power plant that were just beginning to work. But really the secret to it was, I don't know if there's any great secret, because Terry Taylor told me, one time, hey, you're the most underused talent we have here at this company. One was probably Paul Orndorff had asked me to come in prior to when I actually came in. Terry Taylor had talked to me. Kevin Sullivan, when Smoky Mountain shut down, he said, Bobby, you want a job, you've got one. At that time, they wasn't offered contracts, but mostly, and then again, Arn Anderson and I got along with those four guys quite well, and Jimmy Hart, and basically being able to work, but really key was not saying no. There was times I butted heads with people, but I went into the war room and I discussed with them, I knew when I signed my contract, hey, this is what you're going to get. This is the amount of dates you're going to get. And it was really good money. Bischoff had approved the money through Terry Taylor to hire me. And, Terry called me in and he said, Bobby, we'll have guys putting you over on some of the worldwide and some of the Saturday night shows. And then we're going to ask you to be putting guys over. And we really need you to help train and work with some of these guys and make them look good on TV. I think I'd done 2 squash matches the entire time I was there, and that was just because of time restraints. They got squashed back from like 8 minutes to 3 minutes to less than a couple-minute matches. So I can't complain about that. But the secret really was being able to work with anyone. As Arn Anderson set me down one day, and this is a great compliment, he says to me, Bobby, he says, I put you, and I don't personally think this because these guys to me are just first class, but he said, Bobby, I put you in a class of Bobby Eaton and Brad Armstrong. He said, there's no one here we can put you with in this company that you can't work with. And he said, that's why you're here. And here's what I need you to do tonight. And I was like, wow, blown away because, another time Arn come to me, I'd worked someone. He walked back to me and said, Bobby, he said, that's the way a professional does it. Thank you very much. And another time I was getting some tea and he was getting some coffee. He just backed up to me real nonchalantly, said to me, Bobby, don't ever say no. And he said, I've been back here 9 years now. And he said, just keep your head up and keep doing your job. So really key to my longevity there was Jimmy Hart needing me on the TVs on Saturdays. Terry Taylor to keep me real strong in the worldwide. And just been in a good relationship with guys like Kevin Sullivan, having respect for someone like Paul Orndorff. All them guys knew Malenko had trained me. They also knew I knew Dean real well. And they knew that whatever I was going to do, work with, whoever I was going to work with, I was going to give them a match that was going to be respectable. And, that was really a key to it. And like I said, it wasn't that I didn't want to do certain things. There were certain things I was like, oh, man. But then I talked to other people, and you look at it like this. Ted Turner checks don't bounce. I was getting so pissed off one day, I was like, oh, God, I got to go out here and do this. And I really didn't want to. I wasn't feeling it, And Rocky King come by me, and he said, Bobby, and he said, your check come last week? I said, yeah. He said, you cash it? I said, yeah. He said, didn't. Be quiet right there and do your job. And I said, yeah, you're right, Rocky. And, Terry Taylor and Sean Waltman. Sean Waltman walked by me. He heard it. He overheard it. Sean walked by and he says, Bobby, Sean started with me back in Tampa way back when, too many years to count. Yeah. But he said, Bobby, your matches aren't real. My matches aren't real. He said, but the money's real. Take the damn money. And I said, you're right, Sean, you're right. And I went out there and I did my deal, So really key to it was just being able to work, being very versatile, and adapting to different styles. If they needed me to be more roughhouse, I was. If they needed me to fly, I would. If they needed me to do mat technician type wrestling with someone, I would. And I can't tell you how many times, Terry Taylor walked by me and said, Bobby, and I don't know how edited your program is, but you can edit it if you need to. But he walked by and said, kick the shit out of this guy. And I got there and I'd be so cut up. And it'd be one of them young boys from the power plant. I'd beat them up a little bit and rough them up a little bit. Not hurt them. I wouldn't hurt them. It was all professional. And then, take their finisher or whatever, but let them know, hey, this is what the office wants you to learn to do. You don't start your comeback here. This one we used to still tell stories in a ring, right. And I tell them afterwards. I wasn't a prick about it because I tell them afterwards, here's why I cut you off here. You tried to come back too soon. Or you don't just because you can do a suplex, you don't do it right here. That's why I blocked it, And, of course, a lot of times that was said in front of others in the war room, for example, with Terry Taylor or with Arn Anderson sitting right there and them listening, or even Pez Wiley. I remember Pez being there a couple times. Them saying, listen to what Bobby's telling you because he's been to territories. He knows what works. And to have that kind of respect, it only elevated my level of respect, want me to do my job even better because I knew what I was there for. I was there to set guys up for pay-per-views. I was there to set guys up for bigger and better matches with bigger and better worthy opponents. And I knew my job was to basically pin me, pay me, have my boots. I'll see you in the next town because that check ain't going to bounce when it comes from Ted Turner.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned a couple of things in there. You said your matches aren't real, and one of the things that you mentioned in the book is your disdain for the F word. Could you explain a little bit about that? Why do you object to the wrestle? I should probably precursor that the F word is not the 4 letters. Well, I guess it's 4 letters too. F-A-K-E, yeah. Fake, is the F word referred to.
Well, because I feel like, you can go out there to a wrestling ring and you can have controlled anger and you can put the people in that moment of disbelief and you can make the people hang on to your moves and make them hang on to your holds and make them watch you and see that. Plus, even though you might have a move or a set of moves that's choreographed or a predetermined finish, everything you see actually happens. It's not done with smoke and mirrors. And it takes a physical, it's demanding on your body physically. The travel wears you out. What people see is they see you in the ring with the spotlight on you to get your name announced or they see your match. They don't realize that you may have had, a 10 or 12-hour car ride. They may not realize that, how you had to get up and go to the gym that day, go tan that day, make a town by a certain time, be on a 6 o'clock flight the next day and make another town. The wear and tear, and then to get in the ring and then actually be able to perform and not have days off, and do that for, 10, 12, 21 days straight sometimes, where you don't have a day off. So you're in there giving those people, if they pay $7 or they paid $70, when they put their butt in that seat, I want them to get the best performance that I can give them because I'm not going to give them just their money's worth. I'm going to give them more than what they paid for. I want to give them something extra when they come out there and see Bobby Blaze, no matter if I win, lose, or draw. So what you see is actually what you get. I've had, broken fingers, chipped teeth, busted ribs, wrestled on, with pulled MCLs. And I had 13 concussions in my lifetime. 9 of them came from wrestling. The first came from the time I was 9 years old. The last came from about 2 years ago when I was in a car wreck. Wow. Other than one other concussion, the rest of them came from professional wrestling. And so it does stuff to your mind mentally. It does stuff to your body physically. So that's why I say, I don't use the F word. I do use the F word, the other one. But I choose to let, I never once tried to ever insult anyone's intelligence. I know from the first time that a ticket is sold, that sport becomes a business. And it's a business, and I want people to realize, I've had people that know people's real names, and they don't want to admit they even know their real names because people want to believe in that character or that gimmick. And that's hard, to for some people to comprehend. They say, oh, that's that, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't buy into that, I just say, you know what, everything you see actually happens. You know what you're paying for when you bought a ticket. Sit down, watch the show, and enjoy it. If that, whether it's a 2-hour show or a 3-hour show, man, it's just like going to a movie or a football game or a basketball game. You know what you're paying for. Go there and get away from the realism of the real world, the problems of the real world, and sit down and be entertained and have a good time. Boo the bad guys if you want. cheer for the baby face if you want, or you could be like me and you could cheer for the heels when I was a kid, you know. I cheered for the bad guys, man. I wanted to see them cheat, you know. And as a fan, I want that person for that 2 or 3 hours while they're there. I want them to have, you know, and I think a lot of wrestlers do that. They want people to believe in what you're doing because I believed in what I was doing. You know, I didn't want to be, and I hate the word sports entertainer. I wanted to be a professional wrestler that would entertain you through wrestling.
Very good. And that kind of brings us to the question of today's wrestling. And today's wrestling versus what I'm 32. Patrick is in his late 20s. Obviously, the wrestling we grew up in is slightly different than what you grew up with. But you know what? I grew up with Memphis. I grew up with, unfortunately, to some, I grew up in the New York area, so I grew up mostly with WWF, but I ventured out and I watched Memphis. I watched USWA, obviously, which is not necessarily any different than Memphis, but still. There was World Class. There was the AWA. I watched all that stuff growing up, and I miss it so much. And I guess my question for you is, as a wrestler looking at the wrestling industry as it is now, what is your honest opinion of what you're seeing?
I try not to watch too much of it because I get really pissed off when I see some of the stuff that I see because I see too much of the mockery and the entertainment part and less of the wrestling. When I flip through and I see an actual wrestling match, I enjoy watching the wrestling match. Now, I don't care if it's girls. I don't care if it's 2 big guys or 2 little guys. As long as they're wrestling, I don't necessarily like the vignettes or all the talking. You know, I like an interview when a guy says, you know, I'm coming to your hometown place, whatever town you want here, whether it be in New York or whether it be in Atlanta or whether it be in L.A. or some tank town like Ashland, Kentucky. I want to know where you're going to be at, what arena or building you're going to be at, and who your opponent is and what you're going to do to your opponent. And that's your interview or that's your promo, you know. You cut to the chase, this is what we're going to do. You know, now, here's the thing. What people, I think, take away from this, I'm not an armchair wrestler where I sit here on a Monday night or a Thursday night and watch the wrestling and say, oh, God, this guy could have done this. Let me tell you, those guys work their butt off to get to those spots. I admire them also. It's nothing against the boys. It's the companies that tell them, you know, you need to do this or do that, you know, or this is where we're going to go. Here's your script. I'd rather have a guy go out there and not be a character, but himself be the character. You know, that's the thing. What happened to when we had the guys that you actually saw were characters, you know? Terry Funk was Terry Funk, you know. Dusty Rhodes was Dusty Rhodes. Jerry Lawler was Jerry Lawler. The Crusher was the Crusher. Bobo Brazil was Bobo Brazil. Whatever name you want to throw out there, you know. Jimmy Cornette, what you saw, Jim Cornette, what you saw is what you got. No one had to tell him what to say. He knew what to say. Same thing with Jimmy Hart as a manager, and some of the great guys like Bobby Heenan and those guys. So there's nothing against the WWE or the former WWF. Nothing against TA. Definitely nothing against some of the guys that you see out there working. My God, Randy Orton and Kurt Angle, those guys are tremendous athletes, tremendous wrestlers. They can wrestle, they can perform. You know, so there's nothing to take away from that. What I don't like, I guess, is the, quote, entertainment part of it. I'd rather see the wrestling part of it. And, you know, that's what I would like to see wrestling get back to. And I don't know that, I guess I want it to be more competitive, not necessarily who wins and who loses. That way competitive. I'm talking about having competitive matches where they go back and forth, and not have a 5-minute match, and I get a minute of music, you get a minute of music, and so what you get is 3 minutes of high spots. And that's what that person home thinks professional wrestling is, and it's not. It's when you go to like an independent show or you go to a house show and you see guys that are getting 12, 15, and 20 minutes in, and not counting the music, but actually in the ring working. You get a guy like Steve Regal, William Regal, what have you, and he's worked with some of these guys, you know, Norman Smiley, some of these guys that's worked and been around, and they're helping these young guys out, and they're showing them, here's why you do this, and here's how you do that. And you actually get to see performance, wrestling, drawing heat, if you will. Telling a story in the ring, not through a vignette. That's what I think they've gotten away from.
Right.
We're not having all these script writers saying, you say this, you say that. Not someone saying, hey, once the music starts, this is what we got. We got 3 minutes. Let's do this, this, this. Boom, boom, boom. No, I want to see someone out there and let the wrestling tell the story.
There you go. I agree with you.
Well, going back a little bit, you talked about the company, meaning the WWE. Going back a ways, how did you feel when we were in that position where ECW closed, Smoky Mountain was gone, and then WCW was sold to the WWF? What were you thinking at the time about what the state of wrestling would ultimately become?
Well, it's kind of funny. I had personally went to a WWF at the time, was WWF show, and I talked to several people in the back, and ironically, within 2 days of my contract expiring with WCW, I got a phone call from Kevin Kelly and Bruce Prichard, and they were well aware. Of course, Tom Prichard was already up in WWE at the time or what have you. My feeling was, they called me. They asked me if I wanted to come in and do some work. I was already scheduled with probably the following week to go to Japan. I was scheduled to go there for 6 weeks. I came home for a week. I went to England for another 5 weeks, came home for a week, went back to Japan for 3 weeks. So at that point, I wasn't really panicking too bad because I knew they knew who I was. What happened with me is when I came home and I was talking to some of those guys, they was like, hey, here's what's happening. We need you to get to this certain body type. They wanted me to work with some guys like Al Snow and Steve Blackman, and maybe do some work with them. And if not, then just come and do TVs only once or twice a month. And I really was looking. I told them, I said, I'm really looking for a contract. I have a lot of stuff overseas. I make some decent money on the independents. But for me, when WCW was shutting down, and I saw some of the writing on the wall, if you will, of what was happening with them. Smoky Mountain was obviously already shut down. ECW was shutting down stuff. I thought it was going to be exactly what it was. Once Vince, and there's nothing against BKM. The thing is he's going to. The only thing I see is like a monopoly, He's got the whole thing. He's got every library there is out there, I guess, from all the wrestling. I just talked to Cornette the other day about he had said he had sold the rights to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, the name, per se, to them. So he has all those great libraries out there. I wish that, I guess they're going to put someone there. I wish they would put more out there of the old school wrestling back on some of the TV programming. But, yeah, back then, my feeling was, there's only so many spots. At one time, there was 460 guys, and I was one of the top 60 that was still making a living that was professional wrestling in America. And I was like, wow, that's kind of like what you said. What's the secret to it? I don't know. Being able to work. What I saw was, I saw it going exactly the way it went. The internet was giving away finishes before finishes was coming out. There's so many guys. When I left, when WCW shut down, I was one of the last 42 people to go. When Vince bought it, they was down to 25 guys left. I think 10 of those guys went ahead. I think DDP and Flair and a couple of them, Booker T, they went ahead and left their contracts and went ahead and started working for Vince. And, the rest of them, some of them sat home and drew a check for a while, Goldberg, and he eventually went there, And then some of the guys ended up getting a good job with WWE. But, what I saw was, man, my body, I was already 36 years old, and I was like, man, I don't know how much more of this I can take. And I fortunately did another 6 years, but most of it was overseas, and a lot of it was just on weekends and the summer tours, things I had lined up. But, because you're on borrowed time after 35, your Ric Flairs and Terry Funk, so you're rare guys that can go like they can still. But, I knew I was kind of on borrowed time at that point. And if I would have went there and got a contract, great. I know I could have worked with any of them. I know I would have done any programming they wanted. But but my heart at that point, I was more into the training aspect. I was still into the traditional, I still want to do some wrestling, but I don't want to have to travel as much as I had been because I had been on the road so long, almost 10 years full time, And like I said, I've done another 6 years, and most of that was 3/4 of the year I was wrestling, And my boys were a little bit older at that point, so I was pulling back a little bit too. But for the overall product, I thought it was going to really, when you go to somewhere like Japan or Mexico or Canada, and it's on TV once or twice a week, that still puts people wanting to go see it at the arenas. And here, when you've got 6 of the 10 top-rated programs on cable TV being professional wrestling, well, people consider home and watch it, so that's going to empty your arenas some. So, of course, obviously now with your TNA, with your WWE, you've got all the programming they've got on TV, plus you got a monthly pay-per-view from each one. You can just stay home and watch it, so it's going to be harder and harder unless you do like your WrestleMania. It's going to be harder and harder to sell out these arenas and things. And, of course, you can only, cycle in so many guys, and you can have guys on contract. I know at WCW, at one point we had 150 guys on contract, and it dropped down to 75 really quick because what can you do with all these guys? You have to have spots for all of them, and there's a lot of egos in wrestling, and you can't fill all those spots.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. But if you really looked at the 1998 WCW roster, it was the virtual who's who, but only the top 8 or 9 were getting like the big spots, and everybody else was kind of just swimming in the ocean. It's kind of the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was very strange to see such a packed roster, and then you watch the show and only the same maybe 10 guys were in the main events and moving up on the card and such. But that's a conversation for another day. I will let you go soon, but I do want to ask you about this. I posted a picture today about it was a screen cap of you in the WCW Mayhem video game. I guess I got to ask you, how cool was it to see yourself on a video game?
Oh man, it's one of the coolest things. What's more cool was probably to see myself. Well, it was self-making. A lot of people don't realize that myself, Bobby Eaton, Buddy Lee Parker, and Lash LaRue, we were the 4 guys that went to and worked for EA Sports. They flew us into Vancouver, and they had a ring set up. WCW had built a $26,000 ring in a big arena in Vancouver, and that EA Sports, that was the very first wrestling video they had done. Of course, they'd done NASCAR and everything else, football and NCAA. But what was cool was, getting to actually, there were 600 moves, over 600 moves in the Mayhem video, and myself and Bobby Eaton, Lash, and Buddy Lee Parker, we done every character on that. So every move you see on that was done by 4 guys, with the exception of the last 2 days. We had a stuntman come in that we had to hoist up on wire because we were so beaten up after 21 days of nonstop, every day from 9 to 5 wrestling, doing moves over and over and over. But, to be immortalized into a cartoon or into a video game is probably one of the coolest, neatest things. And if I never remember from anything else, I can say, hey, man, that guy was on a daggone video game, Mayhem. And I have to say the financial reward was very rewarding too. But I would have done it all probably for free if they'd have said, hey, here's what we're offering you. You get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and go in there and wrestle. I probably would have done that, but the financial reward was rewarding. But really, it's a personal thing of someone remembering, hey, man, that guy, I played that character. I played you, on video games. It's probably, I can't describe it other than it's exhilarating, and it's an honor to have someone say, hey, man, I've seen your character in a video game, or I can't believe you was actually on a video game. Or you was my favorite character in a video game. When I unlocked that box and you came out, I popped. To me, that's like, wow, really? And so, I don't understand that concept too well, not being a big gamer myself. But for someone to say to me, hey, man, when your character came out, I popped, I know what that feeling's like because I've walked out to the crowd and I know what that pop's like. So, it's a pretty amazing feeling, and I appreciate you very sincerely bringing that up and even mentioning that I was in a video game, so I appreciate that very kindly.
Very cool, very cool. Well, the book is out now, and you also have a DVD coming out, or out already, and there's not been as much talk about the DVD. What is on the DVD?
Okay, first of all, the book is called Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel, and you can get that directly through Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com, type in my name, Bobby Blaze or Bobby Blaze Smedley, and it'll take you to the book. The DVD is called The Best of Blaze. It's been out for a couple of months. It's not on Amazon yet. It's going to be on there. They're working on getting it on there. We don't want to do any gimmick infringements there. Nothing happened today. It was on my wall. That was gimmick infringement. But no, I don't think it's sold millions. I think Vince may call me. But otherwise, as far as I know, I own all the rights to the matches on there. But it has a lot of has a Smoky Mountain all in sequence from early on to setting Bear White Boy through the Candido Turkey title stuff, all the way through WCW with me wrestling some of the top guys there. There's 3 local commercials on it. There's a music video that Cornette did for me with when I won the strap from Jerry the King Lawler.
That's right.
I won't back down on it, you know. So it's about 2 hours, an hour and 58 minutes. Had a friend of mine kept calling me and asked me, could he do it? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And I'd get little snippets here and there, and honestly, it was out for about 3 or 4 months. I didn't watch it. Finally, one day I watched it, and I can't believe it. But Matt Wolf, a gentleman I know from up in West Virginia, he sent the final product to me, and I popped. I couldn't believe it. I said, man, just like I put on the wall today, I told someone that saw the video that I wish I could still move like that. I can't even believe it's me, actually, but it actually turned out to be a very, very good DVD. It's called The Best of Bobby Blaze. You can go to my Facebook like page, or you can go to my personal Bobby Blaze Smedley page and inbox me, and I'll send you the details on how to get that. And like I said, they're trying right now to get it put on the Kindle Direct Publishing to where you can get it directly through Amazon. But as of right now, you know, you can get Pin Me, Pay Me on there. I am working on a second book, and hopefully
okay,
just
cool.
talking about the second book. Yeah, so.
Excellent. I wasn't sure you were serious when you said doing a second. That's awesome that you're gonna. So you got enough stories left in there.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, I've got a story about Dan Severn and myself. I've got you know, just a lot of different little stories. I'll actually mention a couple of times that Cornette and I did have some heat. It was, again, nothing major, but just a funny story about me knowing it's Dean Malenko knowing 1,001 moves, and Cornette rolling out saying, Bobby, you was trained by Malenko, you know 1,000,001 moves. Why would you have a guy attack you if your jacket off? You know, I needed you to wrestle. So just funny things like that, yeah. And more road stories, and also people want to know more about the independents. I'm going to talk more a little about the independent stuff, the guys that, you know, traveling up and down the road with on the independent shows. So yeah, I've got a lot left in me. You know, I just got to put it all together. That's the main thing, is put it in a coherent way that people, again, feel like, you know, hey, I'm riding down the street, Bobby's talking to me. I asked him a question. He told me this big story. And the thing about it is, when I tell it to you, it's going to be a shoot. You know, it's not going to be any hold punches. I'm not going to pull any moves, you know, any fashion on you. It's one of them things like I could be pissing up your leg and telling you it's raining out. No, I'm just going to tell you like it is. This is what happened. This is how it was. It was a good time, and I'm going to finish it the same way. No regrets, man. I do it all again. I just do more of it. I do it faster. I do it harder. Hopefully I do it better.
Oh, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending this much time with us. Hopefully we can have you on again when the second book is ready to come out, and we can promote that. But, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure was completely mine. I appreciate you, James. Patrick, I know you didn't get a lot in there, buddy, but I know you're there, so thank you as well. And I appreciate you gentlemen taking the time out of your evening to have an interview and just a conversation with me. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I sign all my autographs, life's best. So I say this, life's best to both of you, gentlemen. May life treat you good.
Hey, you've got Terry Funk here, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Hey guys, this is Bob Holly, and you're listening to the Interactive Interview.
Here we are again, guys, on WrestlingEpicenter.com, and I almost went into Yogi even on the intro.
For those of you who don't know, right before we called in, James and I were just saying prayers in Yogi Bear voice.
Yeah, we were reciting the Lord's Prayer as Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. So this is what we do when we're not talking about wrestling, folks, and I wish I was...
And the kids out there listening to this are going like, who are Yogi Bear and Boo Boo?
That movie sucked.
You know what? I forgot that movie came out. You know what? Kids will associate Yogi Bear with that movie, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, they had it for 99 cents at Blockbuster, and I didn't buy it.
I don't blame you.
And it's like, it's 99 cents. I've never seen it. It's Dan Aykroyd does the voice, doesn't he?
Yeah. I'm like, Dan, do you really need to check that badly? Seriously?
And I don't really get it, because there's a lot of people who could probably do the voice better than him.
Well, it's not even, the quality of the voice. It's just, what in the hell, what was the movie even about?
I never saw it. I couldn't tell you. I wasn't interested. All I know is that people were kind of like, all right, you fucked up the Chipmunks. We don't want you to fuck up another childhood memory. Leave it the fuck alone.
I mean, that's what Hollywood does, so...
Well,
they will take your childhood and destroy it.
He says on the interview, "Are we allowed to swear on this?" And I think I've dropped 6 F-bombs since we started like a minute and a half ago. So yeah, we can swear. It's unfortunate.
We're on radio. There are no rules here.
No, we were.
Play George Carlin now.
What's that again?
Play George Carlin.
Remember that when you swore on the Blaze that time?
I do remember that. Ben Benya was like, Ben Benya kind of was, after a while, was like, we can't let him call in. He didn't tell me I can't call in, but every time I did call in, he was like, please don't swear.
Yeah, he's like, don't do that. No.
And I think it's really funny that I was the guy that...
Yeah, we've corrupted Patrick. Patrick was almost a priest at one point.
Yeah, that was a serious consideration for my life, and no more.
Yeah. Discovered girls, I think.
I didn't discover girls, I just succumbed.
Yeah.
That's the word.
They're soft and they smell nice.
Okay.
That was creepy.
Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway, we just finished up with Bobby Blaze here. Bobby Blaze did a great interview with us, and on the interview, Bobby Blaze says, did a really good interview with us, and he said a lot of really cool stuff, and I think a lot of people don't realize that there is only a certain amount of places in wrestling for an active competitor to be a full-time employee. Otherwise, you basically are losing money to support your wrestling habit.
A lot of cases, yeah.
And, I mean, for those who have not seen a lot of Bobby's work, I encourage you to pick up the DVD. He really is a good worker, a workhorse. He would be what the old-timers were referred to as a good hand. Just a very hard worker, good worker, who could carry a match and teach a lot of guys as well. I mean, in another interview he did, and in the book as well, he talks about when he was Al Snow's tryout match in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And Al Snow was green as a goose crap, and he was nervous as hell. So in the middle of the match, he starts calling the match in the ring. Bobby Blaze, this is, and he starts doing a Gordon Soley voice, loudly. Just, oh, you got a Pier 6 brawl here, and now we're gonna go for a suplex, and things like that. And whatever he did made Al come out of his shell, and, in a lot of ways, because Cornette wasn't going to hire Al Snow, you have a lot of Al Snow memories to attribute to Bobby Blaze, because without him, he wouldn't have even gotten the spot at Smoky Mountain, which is what catapulted him to ultimately the WWE.
And look at where Al Snow is now. He's kind of the guy that's known as the guy helping out the younger talents.
And
that's kind of been his identity since the Tough Enough days.
Yeah, it's been his identity, and now he's the head agent at TNA, because with Jeff Jarrett departing, and we got to talk about that.
Possibly the only agent.
Well, I mean, I think they still have Simon Diamond's still there, but gosh, I can't imagine they're paying them much. There's no money.
Well, everybody's jumping ship.
You have no choice. And there's not really many ships to jump. It's just like, do I jump into the sea of unknown and possibly get eaten by a shark, or do I stay on a ship that I know is sinking?
Yeah.
There's not a hell of a lot of choice here, because the WWE, ironically it used to be called Titan Towers, Titanic, is not really hiring. They want to do their own thing. They want to have their own. Let me be blunt. Vince wants to own everything, right? And if a guy comes up through the independent circuit, he's not going to own their very, very early footage. And Vince doesn't like that. So Vince has created NXT so he can own everything they've ever done.
Right, and, and to their credit, NXT has developed a lot of great talent. Look at the Shield. I mean, it's not, the system actually does work. It's just that, you're right, Vince has this thing about not liking guys who made a name for themselves elsewhere, and even for guys like Punk and Bryan. I mean, that was a huge roadblock for them for a while.
Yeah, they had to overcome the fact that they actually had world traveled, which is difficult.
Well, you know that Vince did that 18-second loss to Daniel Bryan just to make a point. It
was, and the weird thing is, it was very similar to when he had Dusty Rhodes wear polka dots. Ironically, it blew up, and it actually, people remember Dusty Rhodes possibly best as that character for whatever reason, and look at Daniel Bryan. I mean, it launched popularity for him because people legitimately were like, he deserves better than that. And then boom, look what happened with him. And then I don't know what he's doing now with this Wyatt thing. I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, he was shoved to the world title circuit, so world title scene. So
we'll see how that all plays out.
I'm not sure how that's going to work out for him. That's a crappy storyline. I don't like that one too much, I got to be honest, but we'll see what happens with it.
They could do something interesting with it, but then again, the big question is if. And a lot of times they don't do anything interesting with it. So,
well, it's the case with a lot of things where they get, all right, there's interest here. I wonder where we'll go with it, and they kind of run out of ideas or put it on the back burner, and they put it on the back burner for so long that they assume people forget about it. And when the people forget about it, then they decide, well, we're just not going to do anything with it at all. I mean,
I still want to know what happened with Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon and why they made out. They never explained that. Never. It was like legitimately one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen on wrestling television, and they never did anything with it. So, sure, okay.
They did a lot of things like that. There was that. There was
GTV. They never. Did they ever reveal who was behind that?
I don't think so. I think it just kind of. I think that
it was supposed to be Goldust, but
right. But his contract ultimately ended, and he just went to WCW. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, 7 had to happen, so.
Yeah, that was a great promo when he came out and said, looking like Uncle Fester, which is...
You know what, though? And maybe I'm just weird. I actually thought the vignettes were kind of cool.
With the kid with the black eyes?
Yeah, the evil horse in the window was actually kind of cool.
They were cool, and they would have worked. But you would have had the smart-ass audience that would have shat upon it from a great height because they would say, I know that's Goldust. Why are they trying to get one over on me? Because for some reason we have, not to use a Sting word, because Sting seemed to like this word a lot, we have an entitlement mentality as wrestling fans to think that in the old days it was okay for them to do gimmicks. Nowadays, if they do a gimmick, they're trying to get one over on us. Those bastards. And it's like, give me a freaking break.
And this is where I'll actually agree with you on this and go a little bit further. It's like when they debuted the Wyatts and you had like 20 assholes in the crowd that were chanting Husky Harris at him. I'm like, congratulations, wrestling's fake. Good for you. Could you not shit on this character in its debut, please? Thank you. Because it's actually a good character.
Which one is Husky Harris?
Bray.
Bray was. See, he's the best of the bunch, too.
Yeah. I go figure. It's like, you have this great character, great vignettes, people are excited about it, and you got 20 assholes in the crowd who want to prove they're smart, and they just chant Husky Harris at him. It's like, dude, when I watch a movie or a TV, okay, great example, Breaking Bad. I don't, and I think I told you this. I know you've never watched Breaking Bad, but you know that the dad from Malcolm in the Middle plays Walter White in that show.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm not obsessed with it, but I've seen it.
Right, and it's a completely different character from the character that he played in Malcolm in the Middle. I don't sit there watching Breaking Bad and just go, and it's like, how fat Silly runs around in his underwear, goofy dad. It's like, no, I get invested in, all right, he played one character on one show, and now I'm invested in this new character on this new show.
Right. People don't seem to have
it's not real. Get over yourself.
Right. I mean, you can't watch. What the hell is that? The new show that Robert Williams is on. It's like, shit, he's not Mork anymore. Oh,
there's plenty of examples like that. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of them.
Nobody's allowed to be versatile or build resumes and characters and shit.
Well, it's a society thing, but it seems to be worse in wrestling circles because there was this quote unhinged or unearthed nerd subculture that came out in the past 10 years, and apparently it's a big deal. So the only negative with that really though is that nerds have a chip on their shoulders from being nerds, so they are they're extra biting back on things. And they're not accepting anything as it is. They're trying to prove how smart they are, no matter what. And it's shut up and enjoy yourselves. Come on.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't. Anyway, so I guess the one thing we have to talk about before we wrap up today, because the interview was pretty long, so we can't go too long on this, is the announcement that happened actually as we were doing the interview. The launch of the WWE.
Right before we got on the phone, I listened to the announcement. I was watching it on my tablet as we called up our guest, and the WWE Network is finally being launched, and it's I think personally they're going about it in a really cool way.
Yeah, they are doing it in a very cool way. It's get past the initial knee-jerk reaction. The initial knee-jerk reaction is, but it's not on TV. That was my first reaction. Then you got to go, well, they're not adding channels on TV right now. They're actually getting rid of as many as they can. I mean, because there's so many channels and not enough people to watch it. So right. I get it. I get why they're not doing that. Plus, dealing with the finances of it would be astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. But if you actually go, okay, well, if I want to watch it on my TV, I can download it through Netflix or through PlayStation Networks or Xbox Live or whatever the hell it's called. All right, fine. All right, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And being the penny pincher that I am, I'm a bit of a cheapskate. The big thing that caught my eye, and I think is the real, the real selling point of the whole thing, at least for now, you get all 12 pay-per-views, including WrestleMania, for $10.
$10 a month.
$10 a month, which is awesome.
Right. It almost adds a whole new aspect of it because now you're going to get these big time matches and you're going to get to see them all without having to pay $50, which most people don't do.
And that's really where it has a leg up on, say, the NFL Network, where the NFL Network really only appeals to hardcore football fans because it's a bunch of, it's a lot of top 10 lists and pre- and post-game stuff and all that stuff is fascinating to me because I am obsessed with football, but I don't think I don't think it's going to grab a lot of the casual people that, a lot of the casual people that go to football games.
No.
And I felt like the WWE there was a risk of falling into that trap, but I think offering the pay-per-views as part of this is going to bring in those casuals as well.
Right, and I think that's going to be the selling point of it is the pay-per-views. Even I, who legitimately has very little interest in the modern product, is excited about the fact that I'll get to see the pay-per-views because you feel like you're getting something. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So that's really cool. I'm going to be looking forward to the old stuff they're going to be able to air too. And I will look forward to the kind of stuff that's going to be geared towards the uber wrestling fan, which will be, and you know darn well they're going to do it, the top 5 reasons you can't blame or stuff like that, or whatever rip-off version they do thereof, where it's going to basically play to the hardcore wrestling fans who, not necessarily hardcore like, light tubes and thumbtacks, but ones who live, breathe, and are frankly never grew out of our business. That is.
I'll tell you what I'd love to see. I would love to go on a binge and just watch old Nitros and old Raws during the Monday Night Wars period.
Well, apparently they're going to do that. They're going to air, back to back. One will be Raw, and then right after that they're going to air Nitro.
And that will be awesome. It's like, dude, give me 97, 98, both Raw and Nitro. You won't see me again for like 6 months. I'll just be cooped up watching that nonstop.
As a guy who has binders, and I mean binders full of this stuff, not to get political, but like Mitt Romney's binders full of women, for a guy who literally has just binders with these inlay sheets with 4 discs on each page, on each front and back, I have all the Nitros. I have all the Raws from like 93 through 2000, and then sporadic through there. But I have all that stuff, and I do spend a lot of time watching it. Seeing the WWE's presentation of it will be absolutely incredible because the quality is going to be very darn clear. People are expecting HD from WCW stuff. It wasn't filmed in HD, but they're going to get very good quality or master quality of it, and it's really cool stuff. And it's going to possibly help the wrestling fan who doesn't like the modern product, which I'm not that crazy about the modern product, stay in touch with wrestling because there's going to be a place to just turn it on and see something that you like, wrestling-oriented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and WWE, one good thing I can say about them is that they have the best wrestling library in existence. They have WCW, they have ECW, and they have all the documentaries that they film. They have AWA. They have most of the AWA. They have they don't have the ESPN shows, but they basically own wrestling's entire history for the most part. And they've made so many great documentaries about it that they have plenty of material to fill it up with.
They absolutely do, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they're able to do with it and how it works. Now, we're praising it, right? There's a negative to this, too. And the negative is, in order for them to break even, they need to sell at least 1 million subscriptions. I don't think they're going to get it right away. They might get it eventually, but I don't think they're going to get it right away.
Well, when is the launch date? That's a good question, because I missed that.
February 24th, I think it is.
Okay, that's interesting. Because it's just in time for WrestleMania, so maybe they can use that as a major selling point. Because WrestleMania always makes money, so that'll be a good way to kind of tie
probably
it in.
is what they have in mind.
Mm-hmm. Or if Brock Lesnar, I don't know if Elimination Chamber is happening by that point, but it sounds like Lesnar's going to challenge for the WWE title. Maybe they could use Lesnar's title match as a way to kind of sell the WWE network. Who knows?
Right. Now, a lot of this stuff like Nitro and stuff, Patrick, was available to you previously on Classics on Demand, which was a very similar service, except you got to choose what you wanted to watch, and they offered up, like a menu at a restaurant, they offered up whatever you wanted to pull up, and you could pull it up.
Mm-hmm. Not many people had the service, though.
No, they didn't, and that's what I'm saying. The pay-per-views will be the driving force of actually selling the service, because I don't think that they believe, and they're right, that the classic stuff will garner the audience to watch it. So I think the pay-per-views will definitely be the selling point of that service.
Right.
But the other stuff will be on there, too. So, I mean, the rating...
And they're presenting it themselves. They don't have to present it through a cable company. Or
are they still going to offer pay-per-views through a cable company at all?
I assume so.
I would hope so.
For now, anyway.
For now, they should, because not everybody is this technologically sound. Everybody has a TV, but not everybody has a tablet. Not everybody has a PlayStation 3. Not everybody has a smartphone.
Well, most people are switching to PlayStation 4 now.
Well, yeah, they will be, and I will be too as soon as I have the affordable income.
Next paycheck. That's the first thing I'm doing is get the PS4. So.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you decide to do that?
I don't know. I just decided, like, you know what? I haven't bought a new gaming system since the Wii, and Nintendo doesn't really have anything hot coming out right now, so I'll just go with PS4.
Yeah, I love my PS3. It really is. It's a world better than PS2. I've not played PS4 yet, but yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I will absolutely be using the PS3 to.
And Xbox One seemed like it was more trouble than it was worth.
Michael Manna, Stevie Richards, who was on this show. If you want some hilarity, read his posts around the time that the Xbox One came out. You know how he's had a lot of throat surgeries?
Yeah.
I don't think it understands his voice because it is so raspy.
Oh, God.
Xbox on! Xbox on! Xbox motherfucking goddamn on!
That's funny.
Apparently, it's too difficult to push a button to turn on a machine now, so we have to have a clapper version where you just say Xbox on.
It's funny because we used to, as a society, we used to make fun of the clapper. It's like, oh, that stuff's for old people. Now we're turning it into, like, everyday technology, almost.
It's laziness. It's complete laziness.
Yeah, we're turning it into WALL-E, the world of WALL-E.
Anyway.
Fat people floating around in space on floaty chairs.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, I mean, and I say this as a guy who's 32. My kids have tablets. My wife has a tablet. If I wanted a tablet, I could easily afford one. I don't have one, mostly because I don't think I could keep up with the shit, to be honest with you. I have an iPod, so that's good enough for me. I just want to listen to music on my portable stuff. I know I'm a rarity with that, but like I said, I bitched and moaned when it first was announced, the WWE Network, but now that I find out that I can watch it on my television screen, I have no reason to bitch anymore.
Right. And again, like I said, when I heard the price of it and the fact that they were going to offer the pay-per-views, I'm like, okay, that just made it a whole lot more interesting because, again, to compare it to the NFL Network doesn't really offer anything like that. You get a game, but it's usually a shitty one. And quite honestly, the NFL Network, the games they present, not only are they usually bad games, but because they get like NFC South matches that nobody cares about. Like
the Jaguars take on the whatever, the Titans or the who did they play? I think it was the Jaguars 1 week against the Buccaneers, and it's like, holy shit.
Nobody cares. The battle for Florida, nobody cares. But yeah, and not only do they get bad games, but they don't present it all that well either. I mean, you look at the way that CBS and Fox and NBC presents the games, and you look at the way the NFL Network does it, it's just completely shitty.
It's not bad, but I won't go that far, but it isn't as good as NBC. NBC has a very real presentation of it that I don't think they get enough credit for. Unfortunately, they only have the one game, which is Sunday Night Football, but their presentation of the game, it has a whole different feel. Part of that could be because their announce crew is just so goddamn good. And
Al Michaels is great. And I don't like Collinsworth that much, but I love Al Michaels.
I like Collinsworth just because he is their Don West.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's not a matter of how good he is as an announcer. He's just so damn excited to be there that it just spills over to your excitement. And when a game sucks, he doesn't have the broadcasting knowledge to know to not shit upon the game. So it makes it even more interesting because he'll just like start cracking wisecracks and so what are you going to do tomorrow and stuff like that while they're still playing a football game if the game is a complete washout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he's great. And
Al Michaels, I just like he's kind of the voice of football in my eyes.
He's not allowed to retire. No, I mean, look at what he came from. He came from Wild World of Sports. They used to send him to call, grandmas skating across the kitchen on a mop as an Olympic competition or whatever the hell it was, and he worked his way through all that crap to the pinnacle of sports. He calls the Olympics too. Don't get me wrong, but football is his thing. That's
the greatest call of his career came while he was calling the Olympics.
What call was that?
The Miracle on Ice.
Was it 1980? 1980 hockey. Yeah.
Just as the clock was rolling down. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, and it's one of the greatest calls in the history of sports, I think.
Yeah, and it's one of the few times that Americans cared really that much about hockey. Now, I like hockey, don't get me wrong, but we never really absorbed ourselves in it.
Not quite to the extent of others. I like hockey just fine. It's my main problem with it as a spectator sport. It's hard to follow the puck on TV.
Well,
it's easy to lose the puck, and that's a problem.
It is, and you don't have perfect vision. I have worse vision than you, so it is difficult, but it is interesting as hell to see the violence and everything. And
it is. Hockey is so much better in person. You have no idea. It is a blast in person. I've
never kicked a guy over a guardrail before until I went to a hockey game. That was the 1994 Rangers. I, for whatever reason, a few years prior, just became absorbed in hockey. I was interested, and I got absorbed in this whole thing of 1940. The Rangers have to beat this curse. And 94 came, and they did. And I was so pissed because we were waiting in line to get tickets, and this guy and his slutty-ass girlfriend wearing short shorts and a tank top cut in front of us in line, and I kicked him, and he fell over the freaking guardrail. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And that was my inception into hockey. Unfortunately, the next year, the New York, despite the fact I grew up in New Jersey, I hated the Devils, and they won the next year, and it's kind of like, I lost interest thereafter. But
I live in Washington, so I kind of had to be, and I didn't have a grandfather that played hockey, so I was a Caps fan, and Caps are never that good.
the Washington Capitals, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Rangers are usually solid. They've not been recently, but we have a hockey team in Arizona. People don't seem to realize, and we're usually pretty good, but nobody in Arizona seems to give a rat's ass.
Is that just the way Arizona is? Is like they'll have teams that are either bad or actually, they'll have good teams, bad teams, doesn't matter. Nobody seems to care.
Well,
you all went to a Super Bowl not that long ago, and nobody gives a shit.
Well, it's changing, and I will say that. The D-backs, when we won the World Series, it kind of changed things because people believe that the D-backs can be good.
Mm-hmm.
When we're hot, the people are really into it. When we suck, there is a genuine, palpable lack of interest, and it is very much. It is very much a front runner kind of team, kind of atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same with the Cardinals. The only thing that really pisses me off about the Cardinals is the unfortunate thing about Arizona is that very few people are from here, myself included. So I went to a Cardinals game when they played the Giants. It was a blue crowd. And it's like, wow, that's just horrible. I mean, this was 2000, so we still sucked. Jake Plummer was our quarterback. We really were pretty shitty.
Jake Plummer, there's a name out of the past.
Yeah, we were pretty shitty. So I think we ended up losing the game pretty bad. But I mean, I was there and I was cheering for both teams, but obviously I was cheering for the Giants because they were still decent that year. In fact, they went to the Super Bowl that year. So.
Yeah. Let's not remember that Super Bowl.
There's nothing from the game down to the halftime performance where I lost respect for Aerosmith. That entire game was like the worst day of my life.
I kind of loosened up about it, quite honestly. It used to bring me a lot of pain, but looking back on it, it's like, okay, the Ravens back then had the greatest defense of all time. Arguably one of, if not the greatest defense of all time. So there's not a whole lot of shame in losing to them. It's just, it was just bad.
It's bad to lose a Super Bowl. Absolutely.
It is.
And the halftime performance, for those who don't know why I bitched and moaned about it, was Aerosmith dancing around with NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, God. Oh.
To quote Lewis Black, I grabbed a fork and I shoved it up my ass to distract me from the pain.
And you had to do something. Jesus. I mean, I actually, and people think I sound like an old fart when I say this, but I don't care. I like that string of Super Bowl halftime shows where we just got cool old people.
Yeah,
right after Janet Jackson's kid popped out. So it was all right, we got to have Paul McCartney. And now we got to have Tom Petty.
And let's get Bruce Springsteen out there. He'll be out of breath the entire time from the start to the end, but people will still say he's great.
I don't care. It was better than the fucking whatever. Like Madonna's performance that one year was bad. I thought.
Well, she was terrible.
Black Eyed Peas were terrible.
God, that was awful. Then they had who did they have that one year? That was it was funny because they had the Rolling Stones one year, and halfway through the set, Mick Jagger looked at the camera dead on and he said, "You know, we probably could have performed all these songs at Super Bowl I," and he was right. Anyway,
yeah, he could have.
Anyway, speaking of old people, not to be a jerk about it, but prayers to Mae Young. Sounds like she's not long for the world. By the time this gets posted, it's possible we'll be without her. But prayers to her. The old girl wouldn't give up. She kicked out quite a few times, and there was a lot of people who reported her death yesterday, including us, and we had to retract it. The difference between us and other sites is we had the integrity to say, yes, we reported it wrong. We got it wrong. We were told wrong information. We retracted and we apologized. A lot of other sites just deleted their original post. And it's like, have the integrity to say, I screwed up and I was wrong.
Right. Absolutely. And, Mae Young, say what you will about her, and I know I actually just posted a video on my YouTube channel about the worst moments in Raw history, and Mae Young was on there. And you know which segment I'm talking about. But one thing I will respect about Mae Young, definitely, and I was not, obviously, she wrestled long before I was born, so I didn't see her in her prime or anything like that.
No,
but,
by no means.
Right. So I'm not going to say I remember any of her stuff. I've never seen her. I couldn't tell you what she looked like.
There's
in her prime.
She was a pretty girl. There's a DVD that came out called Piss and Vinegar. And it's about the old ladies of wrestling. I don't want to call them old ladies of wrestling, but the glory days of wrestling. And they had a lot of matches from the 50s and 60s, and she's in a lot of them, and she's very good. She was good, man. I mean, she was ahead of her time. And she was pretty. When she was back then in the day, oh, yeah, she was very pretty.
Oh, cool. Anyway, my point is, it's like, when I was first introduced to her, one thing that will always stick with me is like, how can anybody complain about the harshness of pro wrestling when I just watched a 70-year-old, or however old she was at the time? That was, all right, she's 90 now, and that was 14 years ago. So she was in her mid to late 70s when it happened. She got powerbombed off the stage through like 3 tables by Bubba Ray. And granted, Bubba Ray, I'm sure, protected her, but at the same time, she's a 70-plus-year-old lady getting powerbombed off the stage. So
yeah. It doesn't matter that Bubba took the whole thing. I mean, he did it to Terry Reynolds off the top rope and stuff, too, and landed in a position I wouldn't mind landing in with Terry either. But the only
one that took the full brunt was Trish Stratus. I remember when she took the table club and fully didn't protect her at all. And apparently, Trish told him not to protect her.
Well, if you tell him that, he's going to make sure he doesn't because he wants to teach you a lesson, too. If you think you're tough enough, he's going to see if you're tough enough.
Yep.
So.
And hey, she took it, so hey.
Well, look at Bob Holly on our show. He talked about when he clotheslined Mae Young and made her do a full 360. And he thought, oh, shit, I just killed her. And she went to the back and she slapped him on the chest and she said that in front of all the rest of the boys, now that's how you throw a fucking clothesline.
That's a great story.
So, she must have been even older than she was with Bubba at the time. Probably around the same time period, but Jesus.
She must really have loved it.
She must have, and, God bless her. The Stro had a great line, kind of a tearjerker line. He said, well, everybody said she was dead, but she kicked out one last time.
Aw.
That's kind of cute. I like that. I'm going to use that. Anyway, hope everybody enjoyed the interview. We're going to have another one coming up in a few weeks. Can't clear anything just yet. I'm trying to get clearance on it, but we got a couple of interviews lined up that are going to come up. Some are bigger names, some are Midland names, but regardless, as you know with our show, we always do good interviews regardless of the size of the names. So if you haven't checked us out, check out our archives. A lot of it's on YouTube. A lot of it is in MP3 format. A lot of it's in real media format. Whatever. There's a way to download anything we've done ever on WrestlingEpicenter.com and InteractiveWrestlingRadio.com. So check it out. There's over 400 shows. So download it. And check out the store and buy something. And also buy Bobby Blaze's book called Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel. Great book. And he really does tell a lot of funny stories in the book. And he's an overlooked guy in wrestling history because he wasn't the big, world champion guy. But he was a very important cog in training and teaching a lot of guys. Everybody from, I already mentioned Al Snow, to Kane, to Chris Candido, to half the guys that WCW brought up. He was very instrumental in teaching them the ropes, and he was a very important cog to wrestling history. And I'm glad he's writing these books. I'm glad he's got a publisher that's helping him get these out there. And it's really, when I first read that he did a book, my first thought was, wow, I was kind of surprised that he did one, because I wasn't sure that there'd be the interest. But I'm glad to see that it's done well for itself, and people are really getting out there. And thanks to shows like ours, we're kind of telling people, hey, it's out there, go get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what needs to happen with wrestling. And then maybe the WWE Network will shine a little light on these guys to say, oh, whatever happened to Bobby Blaze, or whatever happened to Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker? What are these guys doing now? Maybe they'll Google them and find out that, hey, this guy was a hard worker, and he obviously was teaching greenhorns the ropes, and they got some stories to tell. So hopefully people will check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. If you can't tell, I'm still struggling in my voice. I've been struggling for about a month now. It comes and goes. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but...
the weather? Oh, no, you're in Arizona.
Well, yeah, but it does get cold. We got down to freezing. So.
Oh, okay.
At night. In the day, it's still in the high 50s and low 60s. In fact, this weekend, I think Sunday, they said it might hit 74, which... It's like, wow, that's amazing. But
well, they give you a taste of what it's like on the East Coast, and I'm in Maryland, so I didn't get hit as bad a state like New York or anything, but today, when going to work, I basically had to ice skate to my car to get in my car and drive to work. I was like, all right, time to ice skate.
I remember vividly in '96, we got hit with a ridiculous snowstorm that dumped like 3 feet on us, and I shoveled the entire sidewalk. And as soon as I finished doing the whole thing, I kind of stood there just looking at what I'd done, because that's what we all do when we do something, including women. It's weird. We do. Don't deny it. You've done it. Everybody's done it. Whatever we just did, we kind of just sit there and admire our handiwork. And as I'm standing there, I'm like, oh, I did a pretty good job of clearing this shit. A freaking plow came, and I swear he saw me admiring my work, because he dumped his load right over where I just freaking shoveled. And I threw my shovel at his plow.
That's funny.
And I don't think I was ever so pissed off in my life. So that was I'm sure I have been since then, but that was the start of me losing my cool.
Yeah, it's understandable.
There you go. Anyway, dude, hope you enjoyed this interview, and thank you for joining us, Patrick.
All right, yeah, thank you to Bobby Blaze for joining us on the show, and thank you, James, for setting it up.
All right, man. Well, I'll keep in touch. Be sure to check out their Facebook page as well. We just crossed 1,900 likes. We're staring 2,000 in the face, and they're going up seems like every hour we're getting 1 or 2 new likes.
Well, if we reach 2,000, it goes back down to 16, right? Or how does that work?
WrestleMania reference. Yeah, I think that's what happens.
You want to hear something sad? I had to explain to a kid what Y2K was.
Y2K was the original thing for people to worry about before they learned about global warming.
Well, before that, it's funny because my dad, I remember when global warming was becoming like the big topic of discussion, my dad looked at me and says, when I was your age, the big thing was that we were going to have another ice age.
It was.
There's always something.
Look at the Vietnam protests. There's footage, very vivid footage, where you can see people holding up signs, no war, stop the war. End the war now. And then there's things talking about global freezing, or what was it? The new ice age is coming, or something like that. And it's like, really? I mean,
they meant that literally?
No, I don't think they were talking about the movie. But no, I mean, it's like, just relax, guys. Even if it's true, and I've always said this, it very well may be true. I don't think it is. It very well may be true. But there's still no reason not to do the best things for the environment anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you know what? I don't think it's true either, but maybe we shouldn't shit on Mother Earth quite so much.
Well, I love, and again, I've already referenced George Carlin once, but here's his whole bit on it, and I think it's brilliant. It's like, look, the Earth will be fine. The Earth will be here long after man is gone, and it will be around for millions and millions of years. People are fucked, but Earth will survive. And that's kind of my whole take on it.
Right. They did that weird thing. You ever play the Final Fantasy games?
One of them, yeah.
They did a pseudo-political comment with one of the games where the end of it is that everything that's bad for the Earth is taken out. And then you see the world, like 200 years in the future, there's no people. Just to say. Well, that's a good place to end it.